Greetings and felicitations.
Hip hip hurrah, tally ho.
Hey, baby doll.
Hey, Puddin'.
All right, what'd you think about this latest episode that we just watched of Star Trek Lower Decks? Much Ado About Boimler.
This one was pretty good. I thought it was an improvement.
Well, we had, as always, two plots to this. One plot is about Boimler getting caught in a transporter accident, so he's transparent. And another one about Mariner trying to impress a friend from years ago that has advanced to being a captain.
Yeah, and both storylines were pretty good. Now, first we can talk about Boimler. So he was phased, as they call it. So he's walking around looking like a ghost, really.
See, I found this tidbit out. Someone throws out the idea of this is not in the Star Trek canon because it's too absurd. It doesn't make sense. But you can enjoy the show more if you view it as a Star Trek animated series that people in the Star Trek universe are watching.
What do you mean, like Kirk and Spock are sitting watching TV and they see this?
Yes. That's the idea of how to best enjoy it, because it's not fitting in with. It just doesn't make sense. Starfleet wouldn't have essentially a leper colony for all these medical mishaps.
Well, that was supposed to be a medical facility. But I know what you mean. Yeah, I just.
What do you think about that idea of
what,
it being an in-universe show?
Maybe.
So Worf relaxes by watching Lower Decks.
That could explain why it has so many references to the shows that we know, to Enterprise and like, you know, it mentions Captain Kirk and Riker and those people, but it doesn't mention other people in Starfleet, because there's probably a lot of people in Starfleet that we've never heard of, right?
Correct.
And it only mentions, you know, Enterprise. So it's like, so yeah, this could be a show that's made on Enterprise just for them to watch or something. Mm-hmm. That's an interesting idea, yeah. And I could see, like, but someone like Data could be like confused by it, like what are these people doing, since he doesn't understand humor.
Because my favorite part of the show are seeing all the Easter eggs and callbacks, even something as absurd as Threshold.
Yeah, and that's like the only thing you get out of this, isn't it? Just the callbacks.
I really don't like the show. It's just one of those things like, well, all these new animated shows like Adventure Time and Rick and Morty, you watch an episode or two, just like, oh, okay, and it's like, yeah, I'm over it now. Like, it's just not for me. Especially being such a huge fan of the original animated series, because they had incredible writers on that show. Like, I'm really drawn into the animated series, especially reading the adaptations, the Alan Dean Foster adaptations, coinciding with the show. So this, I can't do that. I really can't get into this show like I do other series.
This is not at all like the old animated series. And of course, it's not trying to be like it.
It's not trying to be, yeah. So it's made for a different demographic. It's made for a different group of people. Here's the weird thing about it, though. The other night, a couple of guys at work were talking about new Rick and Morty is coming out. And I said, oh, do you watch Lower Decks? And they're like, what's that? I said, it's a Star Trek show based by the creator of Rick and Morty. And they're like, we never heard of it. So you mean to tell me that they're not cross-promoting this on Rick and Morty? Strange, don't you think?
It is, yeah, because there are people who watch both shows and they do see similarities. So yeah, I would think they would try to promote this to the Rick and Morty audience.
This almost seems like something hidden and only for Star Trek fans, which you'd like to think that CBS is trying to widen the net. I don't get it.
They should be trying to, yeah. I mean, this is, it's being talked about in some places, but still, even among the fans, it's not talked about as much. It's just, I mean, yeah, but I guess it's still a different audience, and so not everybody's going to like this. So in the beginning, when we see this new dog that Tendi created, and she said like it's created from DNA or something, but it's a new living creature that she created. But it looks, at first you think it's just an ordinary dog. I do like the line when Rutherford said, that's just a dog and she's playing with us. I mean, that was funny. But then of course later we do find out the dog does other things. It can be larger and actually have a huge mouth and attack, and it can actually talk. And then we find out that Tendi doesn't she doesn't even know what a real dog is like. And then when she sees that real dog at the end and it licks her face and she says, "Ooh, gross."
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I can see the humor in that. So she had never really been with a real dog. And the Captain Pike in the wheelchair, the three new Pikes.
So we're seeing that's the standard.
Yeah,
that
the
type of
callbacks.
wheelchair is the standard for people that are paraplegics, I guess.
In Star Trek, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
you just see it there. But it was just funny to see that. And now, as far as Mariner, seeing her old friend, and so her friend. I mean, the two of them started out together at the academy. Now she has a friend that's a captain.
How old is Mariner? I mean, like, is she a total idiot? Or is she like Garrett Wang's character?
They just say
You can be ensign forever?
But we know that Mariner has been promoted. Oh, she even got promoted on this show. But yeah, we know that she could have been higher, but she's staying down, below decks because it's where she wants to be right now. And so when she sees her old friend, then her old friend, the captain, starts kind of wondering about her too. Like, what happened to you?
It's kind of true, though. Have you ever met people that you went to high school with and they really haven't advanced at all, and you start saying, yeah, you got to grow up sometime.
Yeah, so in some ways it is like real life.
It is. Yeah, that is true. But I don't think that's real life for Starfleet. I really think that the whole Harry Kim thing, he's lost in space. There's nothing you can do about that. But as far as Starfleet that's within the realm of being transferred or moved aside, I think there's a point where they say, you know what, you got to move along. You're better off back on Earth.
But in her case, remember, she's got her mother is her captain and her father is an admiral. That could have something to do with her not being drummed out yet.
That whole situation seems un-Starfleet-like as well. Just something. But again, if we're watching it through the eyes of Geordi LaForge and others on the Next Generation crew that find this is their TV show that they watch, I could deal with it a little bit better than viewing it as in canon with the Star Trek universe. And that's the only way that I'm really getting anything out of it.
So I like the idea that they had a Division 14, which was something about how to take care of these invalids or people who are diseased or crippled that they don't know what to do with, medical cases like Boimler in this case because of being phased, and having the Edosian, the Division 14 guy that picked
That was
him
my
up.
favorite part. That was my absolute favorite part of the show, is seeing an Edosian in there. Call back to the animated series.
They like doing those callbacks to the animated.
You want to see me really lose my mind? Putting Edosian on Discovery, or or on Picard. You could CGI it now, or make a puppet. You could make it look so good. Totally, absolutely, they could do that. Yeah. So I love seeing that race represented in the show.
So they're taken to a place which they're calling the farm, and it turns out that it is a nice planet, a nice paradise where these people are being treated well. So you could kind of see that happening in Starfleet if there's nothing else that can be done for these people. But then you do have technology that can help people, like Geordi, who was blind, and like Melora, who was from a lower gravity planet and couldn't walk.
Yep.
So there are ways to make these people function in society.
Yes.
So you wonder
how many times have I said that? That was a crime, not making Melora a regular on Deep Space Nine. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it for budget restrictions, but that would have been fantastic. Her story of what it was like to be in a wheelchair on Deep Space Nine. I would love to see that being explored further in the Star Trek universe. Anyway, we deviated. I'll say it again. Beautiful animation for the exterior of the ships. Absolutely gorgeous when they're showing the ships.
That's always nice, yeah. Well, even, the characters and having them, having these little aliens in the background, and you're trying to notice what you can, what's there. Now, also in this one of the captain that was a friend of Mariner's, she brought some of her crew along, and one of them was an alien with this really strange purple face with patches over his eyes. I mean, around his eyes. And so there was talk that he might be Jayla's race from the Kelvin universe. But according to Memory Alpha, he's Rigelian.
Okay, now that's something I didn't understand, because in my book, the Rigelians were the turtle-like people that were in the background on Star Trek The Motion Picture. But you found out that there's two different Rigelians in the Star Trek universe.
Yeah, there's two different spellings. There's Rigelian with two L's. That was the turtle race. Rigelian with one L is another race, and they have actually been shown on Enterprise.
I missed that one totally. Never picked up on that, because I thought it looked more like Jayla's race.
Yeah, but when doing the cartoons, and because they didn't try to put in as much detail into faces, to me it was not as obvious. It could have been something else. Yeah, and someone mentioned Lobo too from DC Comics. He kind of looks like Lobo.
I guess he's missing the hooks and the big motorcycle.
Yeah.
But if they did something with Jayla's race down the road, which I wish they'd, I mean, she stole the show in Star Trek Beyond. I wish we would get some characters that would explore her race.
That would be neat. That's one of the few things I liked from the Kelvin movies was Jayla.
Yeah, totally. But the theme, or the title, has to do with the William Shakespeare, Much Ado About Nothing. Star Trek loves taking Shakespeare. It's a hallmark of Trek.
They always have, from the beginning, yeah. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we're almost doing our recordings. Our reviews of Lower Decks is kind of like good cop, bad cop. Because you're the bad cop that hates it, and I'm the good cop that's kind of trying to stand up for it a little bit. I mean,
how about I'm the good cop that's honest, and you're the bad cop that keeps lying?
I'm not lying. This one is called Veritas.
So we know Veritas means truth in Latin. Now, I know that from the Power records that I had as a kid. I had a Star Trek Power record called In Vino Veritas.
Okay.
Remember that?
I didn't have that one, but I know Veritas from Smallville because it was the name of a group of astronomy kids on Smallville who later grew up to be Lex Luthor's father and everything. So, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So the word means truth.
There you go. So let's talk about the episode. What was the premise?
So we have the four main Lower Decks characters are put on trial. At least that's what they think. And it's very interesting because their trial is kind of like Star Trek VI with Kirk and McCoy on trial.
I thought it was exactly like that.
Yeah, and this one had a lot of throwbacks, references to other Star Trek shows, especially the movies. A lot of stuff about the, references to the movies. And it was pretty cool.
Kurtwood Smith, Star Trek alumni, brought back his voice talents for another new character.
Yeah, he was the main guest star in this one, the one who was basically the trial lawyer, the one that was asking them to tell their stories, like what happened. So that was the name was Clar in the episode.
Yes.
So Kurtwood Smith played the Federation president in Star Trek VI. And then I also understand he also played a slew of other characters. I mostly remember him.
He was in a lot of them, yeah. I know him mainly from That 70s Show.
Oh, really?
But he's in a whole bunch. That guy's a character actor across the board.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. Yeah,
of course. So, let's talk about it.
So the episode had a lot of stuff. I mean, so each of the characters telling their stories. The one I really liked was Rutherford. The way he like his system kept trying to update, and then it would it kept resetting, and that would make him basically fall asleep and then wake up and not remember anything. And he would wake up and be in a different situation every time, and he didn't know what had happened, but he was actually going on this secret mission. So it was like, I mean, it would be real important to stay awake during that time, but it seemed like the other people he was working with didn't even know that he had fallen asleep, which was weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought it was neat. It was sort of like like sometimes when a computer does reset, I mean, you can get a notice like all of a sudden that your computer's going to restart, and you're like, oh, what? And so so you try to click the no, don't restart now, but sometimes you just keep getting these messages, And sometimes it's a virus too. I've had the worm virus that wants to restart my computer. It's terrible. So they're saying like, well, so his computer, his implants can be just like, our computers with our viruses. Mm-hmm. So what did you think?
Well, I mean, because it felt so much like Star Trek that we've already seen already, and I'm just thinking of like the Klingon trial scenes in Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country especially, I really wasn't as impressed. You know, I'm watching this show, and you know, we get up early in the morning and we have cereal while we're watching it. And this time we were having Cookie Crisp. And as I'm having Cookie Crisp, you know, they're the little chocolate chip cookies. They're supposed to, it's cereal that's supposed to taste like chocolate chip cookies, but it's not exactly. It doesn't exactly taste like chocolate chip cookies. And I was just thinking, I was like, I'm eating a Cookie Crisp, and I'm like, you know what? This is kind of like chocolate chip cookies, but not really. And this is kind of like enjoyable Star Trek, but not really. I just don't get this show. It's just not made for me. They're making all these different Star Treks for a wide variety of people. They're just throwing the nets out and hoping to catch something. It's not like Star Trek used to be, of like somewhat of a similar formula, even though you had obviously Deep Space Nine and Voyager were very different, but it still had some commonalities there. This, I just didn't get this episode as much. I just don't, it's not for me.
Okay.
But I like the throwbacks. I think the throwbacks are my favorite.
And you always say that.
Always looking for it. If it didn't have all these Easter eggs in it, I just don't care about the story. What did you think about all the different Easter eggs and references in here?
I loved them. I mean, yeah, and it's sort of a contest or a game to watch it and try to find all the Easter eggs. So the arguing about Khan and Roga Danar, and well, of course everyone knows who Khan is from Space Seed and Wrath of Khan. Roga Danar was from the episode The Hunted of TNG that had the enhanced super soldier. And
I like the episode.
Yeah.
And I didn't really catch that episode, that reference immediately until you brought it up.
Yeah, not everybody knows that name. He's not one of the popular characters. He was only on that one episode. Mm-hmm. But I had never thought about the similarity of the enhanced super being.
So I like the fact that the people who are on the show truly are fans, and they're throwing these deep dives in there. Yeah,
at least you can say that. And, you know, but I like how Freeman, the captain, also said at the end about how she might share more things with people on her ship because the lower decks people really didn't know anything about what was going on. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, yeah, I think they should be made aware, at least to some extent. Sometimes there's like security breaches and all, but that was a good idea. And I like the little, like that map of the neutral zone that the aliens gave the captain.
Yes.
That was a neat looking map, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. And it was very similar to the one from Balance of Terror. The Romulan neutral zone map. Yeah.
Definitely. I like that reference.
That and of course Q was in this one. And they actually got John Delancey.
Now, I didn't recognize that this was John Delancey's voice.
Amazing, yeah.
Because he sounds more gruff.
His voice has changed. Mm-hmm. Even though, but once he gets to talking, you can tell it's him.
Yes. But initially it sounded almost like, I don't think it's as extreme, but it's almost like Carrie Fisher's voice.
The way her voice got so deep and gruff.
Yes, yes. Yep. But I'm glad they brought him back, and I'm glad they made like just a quick reference. It wasn't an entire Q episode.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think it would be fun if they did make a Q episode. But yeah, Q shows up and they just sort of ignore him and act like he's not even a real threat. Which they also did with that, the ball of light that appeared in another episode.
Yes.
So now these characters are kind of making fun of things that mostly happened like on TNG, where people were fearful or got defensive when they saw these powerful beings, and now Q shows up and they're like, oh, we don't have time for this. It was pretty funny.
I do find it curious that Q had so many costume changes throughout the series, but they keep referencing Encounter at Farpoint and All Good Things, like the judge's robes. Somehow the judge's robes have become the most iconic Q outfit.
That is interesting too. I always picture Q more often in the uniform, in the Starfleet uniform.
That's how he's mostly shown, sure.
Yeah, that's that's the way I usually picture him. I mean, yeah, when he was on Voyager all those times, he always wore the uniform.
But it makes sense. This is animated form. You got to show something that's visually different than everything else. So
Yeah,
I liked it
so
though.
the
I
judge
thought, yeah,
uniform
looked good.
fit. I mean, his robes fit that episode. Oh, and of course, showing up as a judge when they thought that they were being judged before during the whole trial.
Yeah, the connection made a lot of sense.
It did. So that was cute. The thank you, the aliens, they got offended because Captain Freeman said thank you. It kind of reminded me of Enterprise when they made a first contact. When there were aliens
They're eating in front of everyone else.
The aliens that got offended because the Enterprise crew was eating in front of them.
Yes,
yeah.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah, something that we wouldn't even think of that other cultures might be offended by. So that was a nice thing that they threw in, like that you can have these different cultures with different social customs and different mores. They also had the salt vampire in this. Oh, and the Star Trek V fan dance that Uhura did. So
yes.
here we had Boimler doing the fan dance.
It's bizarre.
Something really weird. Well, because it was so weird in the movie too.
Now you know the song. You told me that you memorized the song when you were younger, right?
Yes, Uhura singing that song, "The Moon's a Window to Heaven," which in the movie she just sort of did like a little bit of it. Just said one line from the song. But on the soundtrack for the movie where they put the whole song and it was by Hiroshima. I mean, yeah, I thought it was a beautiful song. I loved it. Yeah. And the Vulcans, or was it the Romulans? The Romulans saying, "You know what I hate? Remans." I just thought that was funny. Yeah, that was funny.
Because I've been saying with the Discoverse, they're not mentioning Remans in Picard. And what's the clown? The new clown, not JJ. Kurtzman saying,
yeah.
"Well, I just want to forget about them."
He did say that, yeah.
Well, buddy, you can't forget about it. This is established.
On Picard, all they have to do is just say, "Well, the Remans died from the supernova. We couldn't rescue them." All they had to do was just throw in a line about
Make
the
a
Remans.
reference.
Yeah.
Tell me something. What's going on? So I did like that line. Having some connection to the rest of the Star Trek universe.
Definitely. Yeah, throwing that in and it was neat seeing the Romulan bird of prey, wasn't it?
I love it.
The TOS
Absolutely.
version, the TOS version of a Romulan ship up against the TNG Romulan warbirds.
I love the way they look. The aesthetics for the show, for the exterior ships, is fantastic.
They did a good job showing those ships, and even though you can tell it's a cartoon, it still looks good. They still look like very impressive ships.
Yes, and they got the designs right. That's great.
Yes. Yeah, they know how to do it. Yeah, they're doing it the same way instead of trying to change it the way Discovery made these little changes to the Enterprise. I mean, they're actually, so on Lower Decks,
they respect the canon.
Pretty much keeping it the same.
Sure.
And they mentioned, the planet Philos. They said something about the giant Spock on Philos.
Oh, I love that.
A reference to the original animated series, the
Yes.
episode The Infinite Vulcan. And I love how they're referencing...
Written by Walter Koenig.
Yes. But referencing the old animated show is so cool.
Yes, absolutely.
So they're, not forgetting their roots. And having the Gorn wedding... Remember the little bits of that with the Gorn wedding? It was just funny.
It was funny to see that.
And,
who doesn't love the Gorn?
Yeah, and we haven't even seen the Gorn that much. And because we've only seen male Gorns when we have seen them. We think they're male anyway. In the novels, female Gorns, do appear, but on screen, we think we've only seen male Gorns until this episode, seeing them animated. So they threw in all these little Easter eggs, and it was all good to see. And to me, I think the stories are getting better with this show. And it's still, I can't say it's not one of my favorite Star Trek shows. But I can kind of see, like, down the line, like 5 years from now, this might be a show that I can just sit back and just watch and be entertained. I mean,
almost like in the background while you're doing something Trek.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Just something to put on, and you look at it and go, "Oh, that's cute. Oh, yeah, I forgot they did that," and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our Facebook group. Live long, and may the Force be with you. Nanu Nanu.